Awesome, guys. Again, welcome. Brian Reese here, the VA Claims Insider, coming at you live from Austin, Texas. Okay, let's jump into PNT. 225 people on live. This is totally crazy. Welcome to all the insiders, my fellow disabled vets. Again, Brian Reese here, the VA Claims Insider. I'm an Air Force service disabled veteran. I separated as a captain in 2012. Had a tough combat deployment to Afghanistan, nearly killed myself with drugs, alcohol, gambling. I'm lucky to be alive, guys. Truly, I'm lucky to be here. I believe God put me on earth to do this. And that is why I do this every single day. That's why I fight for you always. I will never quit on you, guys. I will never quit on you because what we do changes lives. And we need each other. Okay, we need each other badly. People are going to hate, let them hate, right? We turn the other cheek, we respond to them out of love. People are going to call us scamsters, fraudsters, you know, snake oil salesmen. I've heard it all. I've heard it all, guys. Then guess what? We love our haters. We love them. We support them. We pray for them. And that's all we can do, okay? All right, so let's talk about PNT. 100% permanent and total, guys. Again, if you have questions about your claim, we've got a whole bunch of team members on and fellow veterans who are on this device right now live on Facebook. Ask your question in the comments and see if you can get an answer from folks who are on, okay? Our team members are on. Welcome to you guys. If you're watching this recording on YouTube, open up the description in YouTube and you can go to the comment section. Go ahead and ask your question and we will try to answer it, okay? Again, it's not medical or legal advice. It's our opinions, but I think our opinions are pretty good, in my opinion, okay? So let's talk about 100% PNT, permanent and total, the definitive guide. Guys, a lot of veterans want to know, Brian, how do I get 100% PNT rating? Okay, now PNT stands for permanent and total, and it applies to vets who meet the total disability definition and the permanent. Okay, so there's permanent and total, and I'll talk about that real quick. Now, permanent means that the impairment is reasonably certain to continue throughout the life of the disabled person. Okay, now a lot of vets confuse permanence and total. Okay, permanent and total. They think that both of them are required all the time and that that's all that happens. That's actually not true. Both of those terms have very different meanings, and somebody can be permanent and or total, or just permanent but not total, or total and not permanent. Okay, now hang with me. I'm going to walk through it, and I don't want to confuse anybody here. So I'm going to walk through what that means, okay, and then we can talk about it. So let me give you an example of somebody who's totally disabled, but it's temporary. Okay, meaning it's not permanent. So let's say you have a knee replacement. That's a great example. If you required hospitalization, you require a total knee replacement, okay, and it's deemed service connected. You can be considered totally disabled for that knee replacement for a period of 12 months following the surgery or hospitalization, okay? Again, that would be you're totally disabled, but it's temporary, because after a year it goes away, okay? You can also be considered permanent, meaning you have one or more disability rated less than 100%, okay, but it's static, and perhaps it's been rated at that level for a certain period of time, okay, meaning the VA's determined it's permanent, but it's not necessarily totally disabling, okay? So an example of that would be you've got obstructive sleep apnea, it's been rated at 50% for the last 20 years, okay? That would be permanent, but not total. Okay, so now let's talk about the combining of them both, permanence and totality, permanent and total, 100% PNT. The major benefit, write this down if you're gonna take any notes. The major benefit of being deemed 100% PNT is that you are protected from future VA disability ratings reductions, okay? Your rating can never be lowered, okay, unless the VA determines that, you know, there's some type of fraud, okay, then of course it always could be looked at. But in terms of if you're deemed 100% permanent and totally disabled, your rating can't be lowered, okay? And obviously a lot of vets fear having their ratings lowered. They fear that over time they're going to get a crappy C&P examiner who tries to lower their rating. I get it, guys. Again, I'm a fellow disabled vet. I understand. Okay. So we've talked about permanence. We've talked about total. Now let's talk about total disabled real quick. Total disability is considered to exist when there's the presence of an impairment of mind or body, okay, which is sufficient to render it impossible for the average person to hold what's considered substantially gainful employment. Okay, now there's all kinds of other little loopholes here with what's considered marginal employment, substantially gainful employment, if you're self-employed. And I'm not going to cover all of that stuff today, but I just want you to know that there are other areas there, okay? And we've got a great blog post out there called Total and Permanent Disability VA. Okay, I'll post it here on this page when we're done so you can read it. And it talks you through substantially gainful occupation. It talks you through hospitalizations, periods where you've been incapacitated. They're also, in the opinion of the rating agency, that you're likely not going to improve. Okay, it's not going to affect your ability to hold or get substantially gainful employment, okay, or an occupation. Okay, let's see here. Okay, a lot of other vets also want to know, Brian, how do I know if I'm 100% P&T, right? You know, how do I know if I'm 100% scheduler or 100% TDIU, individual employability? How do you know? Okay, well, there's really one way you can figure it out right away. You can log into eBenefits, okay? Once you're logged in, scroll to the top, okay, and there's columns up there, and you can hover your mouse over the column and the button that says Manage. So hover your mouse over Manage, then click Documents and Records, and then VA Letters, and finally click the Benefit Summary Verification. Okay, Benefit Summary, Veterans Benefits, click it, and that's going to open up. You can actually generate a PDF document from that, or you can just read it on the screen. But it says in the section, it'll say literally, okay, and this is in quotes, you are considered to be totally and permanently disabled due solely to your service-connected disabilities. It's either going to say yes or it's going to say no, okay? That's one way you can check. And it's also going to explain, by the way, in that benefit summary verification, if you're receiving special monthly compensation, okay, which is an additional benefit that you can be owed, okay? Now, this is a really big one because there's so much confusion about this, okay? Who wants to know, can you apply to be 100% P&T? Say yes. Who wants to know that? Yes, everybody's saying yes. Okay. You don't really apply for P&T because P&T is determined by the VA, okay, and the VA alone. However, you can apply to be deemed permanently and totally disabled. I'm going to say that again. The VA solely decides if you meet the definition of P&T by law, but you can apply. So if you're 100% scheduler and you want to try to go for P&T, you can open up a new claim on either eBenefits or va.gov. And one of the things you can do is you can write a statement in support of a claim on the VA form 21-4138. Okay, you personally write that. You could also get a buddy letter from a spouse or somebody who's lived with you, and you can explain that your conditions are static. You can literally write to the rater, my conditions have been static and unchanged for the past 10 years, 15 years, right? And in my opinion, they're not going to improve. In fact, they're getting worse, or they're likely to get worse, okay? You can also ask your doctor, your primary care doctor, you could ask a VA doctor, or you could ask one of our doctors to review your record inside of Elite, and you can get a letter requesting 100% P&T status, okay? And the doctor should explain in their medical opinion the likelihood of your conditions improving, okay, based upon what they review. A disability exam, the medical evidence of record, okay, they have to explain that. In their medical opinion, do you meet or do you not meet the definition of permanence, okay, meaning your conditions are static and unlikely to improve, okay? Now, when the VA is assessing permanence, by the way, it's the only time they can take your age into consideration, okay? That's not considered discriminatory conduct. One of the reasons I think why that is because we know medically that as we age, our body breaks down, right? Our hearing goes, we shrink, we have more chronic pain situations, right? Just lots of issues happens when we age. So the VA rater can take into consideration your age when determining P&T status, okay? Now, that does not mean that if you're younger, you can't be granted P&T status, because you can, okay? It just means that if you're older, you're probably more likely to get granted P&T status. But again, it all depends on your conditions. Are they static? Are they unchanging? In a medical doctor's opinion, are they likely or unlikely to improve over time? Okay, it's very important. So if you do get a medical opinion or you get a P&T letter, you're going to want to make sure that's explained. Okay, now, if you want a doctor, if you can't get your own, okay, and you're willing to pay a fee to a doctor to connect with them directly, to do a disability exam, to get a letter, you can actually have one of the doctors in our referral network write a P&T request letter. Okay, now there's no guarantee that it's going to work, but you can get that request for 100% P&T. And then what do you do when you get that documentation back? Assuming it's favorable, right, or even if it's unfavorable, you upload it to va.gov or eBenefits in support of your claim, okay? The other thing you can do is you can write a letter to the Vero in your state. The VA regional office in your state, you can write a letter to them requesting P&T, okay? You absolutely can do that. In fact, members in our community have told us that they've done that and they've been successful, okay? Now, again, you're going to want to have evidence. Disability claims, bar none. Guys, I don't care who tells you different. Disability claims come down to medical evidence, okay? If somebody tells you differently, they're filling you with a line of BS. Disability claims come down to medical evidence, okay? What's the number one reason claims are denied? Lack of medical evidence. What's the number two reason, in our opinion? No clear nexus for service connection, especially if you've been out of the service for a long period of time, okay? So what do we help you do at VA Claims Insider? We help you get more medical evidence, okay? Now, only if it's deserved, okay? The doctors in our network don't work for me. They're not pressured by us. They are independent in their review and analysis. Very, very important concept to keep in mind, okay? Very important. But if you're able to get additional medical evidence in the form of disability benefit questionnaire reviews, medical nexus opinions, you take that medical evidence and then you're able to upload that in support of your claim, okay? Whether it's an increase, maybe the VA's proposed a ratings reduction, okay, and you want to fight back. You need more medical evidence, guys. That's what we help you do at VA Claims Insider. Now, in that blog post, again, I'm going to turn to some questions here in a minute. In that blog post called Total and Permanent Disability VA, you can Google VA Claims Insider 100% P&T. You could Google Total and Permanent Disability VA, okay? You can search that post, and I list about 13 different benefits that are available to P&T veterans, okay, permanent and totally disabled. There's a lot, okay? There's a big difference in the benefits you deserve by law between the 100% scheduler and the 100% P&T, okay? I'll name one of them. One of the major benefits of being deemed 100% P&T, permanently totally disabled, you qualify for what's called CHAMP VA. which means that in addition to the veteran getting full healthcare services, your spouse and dependents also qualify for healthcare, to include healthcare on the outside. That's a huge benefit. But CHAMP VA only applies to those who are 100% P&T. Okay, now there's a bunch of other ones on there as well. I'll let you read them. Waiver of home loan fees, voc rehab and employment. There's concurrent pay, all kinds of stuff. Okay, so take a look at that post and see. Now, if you need more medical evidence to try to prove that you have a disability, a diagnosis, to try to prove service connection, okay, maybe you've been denied before and you need nexus evidence. Maybe you're trying to prove your symptoms, that your current severity of symptoms meets a certain criteria under the law. That is what you do, and that's what you get inside of VA Claims Insider Elite, okay? Now, you don't have to use us. You could use your own doctors, okay? But we offer deeply discounted service to our members. Okay, again, how do you join? Simple. It's a free 3-step intake to start. You can go to VAClaimsinsiderelite.com. You should see a bumper sticker, by the way, across the screen on the bottom, especially if you're watching the YouTube recording. Thanks to Combat Craig and his team, by the way. They're absolutely doing amazing things for our brand, okay? Again, free 3-step intake. You can read some success stories there and decide if the program is right for you, okay? All right, 257 of you are on live right now, which is awesome, just crazy. A whole bunch of my team members, including Steven, Combat Craig, Sean's on. What's up, bro? Jeff Patch, dude, thank you for everything you do with our brand, our color schemes. It's unbelievable. By the way, we're revamping the Elite program to make it even better. I cannot even describe to you how excited I am about where that's going. It's going to be a full and detailed explanation in that online program, okay, that you have access to, which lists the entire process in 8 steps, okay, our proprietary Elite process. It explains what happens at each step, what you should do at each step. It's incredible. Okay, absolutely incredible. That's coming very soon, probably in about a month and a half or so. Okay, we're working super hard on that behind the team. And it hasn't been cheap. It's been stupid expensive to build, but I think it'll be worth it for you guys, okay? Okay, take a question here. Let's see here. Oh yeah, so a veteran wrote here, don't let that stop you. Someone at the VFW told me years ago that I cannot open a new claim because they could lower my rating. It kept me being 100% for 7 years. Now, guys, this is one of the things I talk about in myth busting, okay? If you believe that you are underrated by law and that you should have a higher disability rating, go for it. Don't worry about them lowering your rating. If they lower it, you fight back with more medical evidence, okay? But go for it. If you believe you deserve something by law, don't live in fear. Go for it, man. And woman, no, I push back. Tim, oh man, this is a big one. Why is it so hard to get rated for sleep apnea? Okay, I'm going to list my opinion of why I think it is based upon many of the things that we're hearing from vets, okay? My opinion of why it is so difficult to get rated for sleep apnea at the VA is because of the causes, the origin, and the etiology of sleep apnea, okay, according to medical research. That's my opinion. What we have seen is this, okay? If you did not undergo a sleep study while on active duty, okay, or within a year of leaving active duty, if you did not get a medical diagnosis of sleep apnea, okay, and or if you cannot get a buddy letter from at least one other person who can explain that they witnessed you snoring, having trouble sleeping, having trouble breathing. I thought he was dead because of the apnea episodes, right? He was tired all the time. If you can't produce those things, I highly recommend you do not file a sleep apnea claim as a primary disability for direct service connection, because if you do, you're going to get denied service connection. Why? Well, one of the reasons is because of these crap C&P examiners, okay? Many of them are conducting their examinations over the phone. Many of them are nurse practitioners, meaning they went to nursing school, not medical school, okay? Nurse practitioners, many of them are private doctors who are subcontracted through some of the big holders of the contract with the VA for C&P exams. I think there's about 5 of them right now. But what we've seen is if you don't have that stuff in your record from active duty, okay, you underwent a sleep study, you have a diagnosis of sleep apnea, you at least have subjective symptoms in your service treatment records. If you don't have that and you filed a claim for a primary disability for direct service connection under the law, okay, you're likely going to get denied service connection. And the denial letter, I can read it to you right now. It's going to say something along the lines of, there's no evidence in the veteran's active duty service treatment records of any subjective complaints of sleep apnea. The veteran never underwent a sleep study. There's no diagnosis, okay? And your C&P examiner is going to write that it's less likely that your sleep apnea is due to service, okay? What we've also seen is there's a movement, if you want to call it that, to these doctors, these C&P examiners, claiming that it's less likely and your OSA, your obstructive sleep apnea, is more likely due to weight gain, okay? Weight gain, which again, they're going to determine that's your own fault. But wait a minute. Maybe the weight gain isn't your fault. Maybe the weight gain is due to medications you're taking for your service-connected disability. Okay, again, that's one of the interim links, but in our opinion, you should get a nexus letter in order to connect obstructive sleep apnea on a secondary basis to something else in your body. Okay, guys, that's what we do. We're medical experts. Okay, that's what our doctors, our PAs, that's what they will help you do. They will look through the record, they'll comb through it and decide what's the best path for you, okay? And again, you get access to that inside, okay? Okay, let's see here. So that's my bit on sleep apnea, is if you did not have a diagnosis while on active duty of obstructive sleep apnea or any kind of sleep apnea condition, if you didn't undergo a sleep study, I believe you should try to go for it as a secondary service connection basis, okay? Secondary VA claim. Jeff, can someone contact me directly to discuss joining? Of course, man. Of course, and totally up to you. Lack of pain. How permanent is PNT? Is it permanent until death? Absolutely, right? That's what it means. 100% permanent and total. Permanent meaning it's never going to change, right? You can't have your rating lowered if you're deemed 100% PNT, okay? Let's see. Thank you. There are lots of ways to service connect sleep apnea. A common one is secondary to PTSD. That's absolutely true. Now, let me give my opinion on that real quick. We've seen a lot of vets, depending on what their medical evidence of record is, that they're able to get OSA, obstructive sleep apnea, secondary service connected to current service connected PTSD. Okay, so it's OSA, excuse me, secondary to PTSD. The issue that I've seen, okay, and again, my opinion, is that the medical research linking those two is weak at best, okay? And I've looked at a lot of stuff, guys. Okay, I'm not a doctor, but I geek out on this stuff. I spent a lot of time on WebMD, Mayo Clinic, reading medical research studies on PubMed. A lot of small sample sizes on the correlation between obstructive sleep apnea and PTSD, okay? Now, from what I can tell, there's not necessarily a direct correlation between the two, other than there is a direct correlation in the more severe one is, the more severe the other is, okay? The more severe the OSA, the more severe the PTSD, okay? The more severe the PTSD, the more severe the OSA. But to say that obstructive sleep apnea was caused by PTSD, I don't think that's necessarily correct. What I think you could say is that your obstructive sleep apnea is proximately due to or the result of the veteran service-connected PTSD on an at least as likely as not basis. And then you'd have to explain why. Okay, the medical doctor, whoever prepares your nexus letter, is going to have to explain that, okay, in there to talk about it. Okay. Let's see. I'm taking a few more questions here. Let's see. Is there a medical record review cost when someone signs up for Elite? There is. Okay. So right now there's a one-time $100 access fee to reach the doctors. Okay. That helps you connect with them. Again, that helps cover some of our costs in maintaining all of this stuff for you. The network, the systems, the labor behind it, okay? Again, pretty cheap, okay? But there is a one-time $100 fee to have them review your records, okay? Let's see. 5 people. You guys are awesome. Glad to have you here today. Again, thank you to my team members for being on. You guys are awesome. Tony wrote, VACI is the answer. Who cares what anybody else thinks? Let's see. Does a DBQ state clearly that the veteran is P&T, or is that read through symptoms? You could, that question was from Troy. You could have, one of your own doctors or a VA doctor or a doctor in our network. You could have them write the static nature or the permanence in the DBQ. It's more likely, though, I think, that you should get it in a separate document because you're going to want to go through why that is in more detail. The DBQ, I think, is really useful for the medical diagnosis and then current symptoms, right? Not necessarily so for the nexus, which is why typically we recommend a separate medical nexus letter or a medical nexus opinion, okay? Let's see. Chad, I am a DoD civilian firefighter, and they are retiring me medically due to my service-connected disability and aggravation from the job. Any tips to assure a smooth transition? I'm assuming, Chad, that you're referring to your service-connected disabilities transitioning out, being medically retired. The biggest thing that I see for all vets, if you've been out of the service for more than a year, okay, meaning you've been out of the military for more than 12 months, okay, you're going to want to be able to explain away what has happened since that last decision, okay? Or if you've never filed a claim before. What I mean by that is your 12-month presumptive period of service connection is over, okay? So after a year of leaving service, in my opinion, it gets infinitely harder to prove service connection, especially if maybe your second career is what caused your issues, right? You mentioned you were a firefighter. One we see common is, say you were an Army troop and you got out in the last 25 years, you've been a police officer, right? Well, if they determined that your PTSD was due to what you were exposed to as a police officer, okay, not what happened on active duty or during a deployment, they're going to deny you service connection. So if you were in career paths that subjected you to severe mental and physical issues, harm, exposure to death, fear, anxiety, right? Police officers, firemen. Those are two great examples. You need to be able to explain to the VA that, no, my PTSD is not due to me being a cop. It's due to my service and my deployment. I just never told anybody about it. Okay. Of course, if that's true, of course, right? Let's see. Go to the doctor. Get your butt to the doctor. You hear me say that all the time. Guys, VA disability claims get denied due to a lack of medical evidence. Okay. Now, of course, there's times that VA raters make mistakes, right? Maybe there's a clear and unmistakable error. Got it. But in our experience, and in my opinion, it usually comes down to the medical evidence and lack thereof. Okay. Brian, I just filed my supplemental claim for the VA to consider my recent multiple sclerosis for service connection, since this is a disability with no cure and is degenerative. Should I have requested they also consider me for a PNT rating? Liz, first of all, I'm sorry to hear that, that you've got multiple sclerosis. I would. Yeah, I mean, if you've got MS and it's documented and service connected, I think you should consider writing a statement in support of a claim on medically how, guess what? It's not going to get any better, right? MS is only going to get worse over time. So you certainly can do that, Liz. Again, that's my opinion. It's not medical or legal advice. That's my opinion. Mike wrote, okay, so this is talking about sleep apnea again. What about if you get a nexus letter from a board certified sleep doctor on direct service connection? I think you could go for it. Yeah, I mean, here's my take on this, by the way, on qualifications and credentials. The VA is supposed to consider the totality, the completeness, the education, the training, the experience of the doctor's opinion. Now, in my experience, they rarely do. Okay, they rarely do. However, that being said, if you've got a nexus letter from a board certified sleep doctor who says that it's likely directly linked to your service, Mike, I think you can go for it. I highly recommend, again, that on top of that, you get one buddy letter from somebody you served with or your spouse, somebody who knew you during active duty, who can explain what they witnessed, okay? The things that were happening to you while you were on active duty. He was snoring. I witnessed him having trouble sleeping and breathing while we were deployed together. Maybe your spouse says something like, he complained about being tired all the time. He snored loudly. And he wasn't himself. He had major issues over time. We didn't know that it was sleep apnea, right? He never had a sleep study. He never went in. We didn't find out until after he left service. Okay, that's where those buddy letters, I think, become very important. And I think it's important to do that. Yeah, so some people are talking about Military Disability Made Easy. That's one of our websites, by the way. We own that web property. Lots of vets use it. Attorneys use it. VSOs use it. Lots of folks do who are involved in this space. You can go to militarydisabilitymadeeasy.com. It's completely free right now for you to search conditions. Okay. It's basically the entire VA schedule for rating disabilities. Okay. ECFR, Title 38, Part 4. It's that entire schedule, syndicated, broken out, and explained. Okay. In more detail than you're going to get than by just going to the law. It's amazing. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to work with them. Okay, John. I have a letter from my primary care doctor at the VA Medical Center stating that he believes I am 100% permanently disabled based upon my physical issues being treated in my age. What do I need to go with that letter to submit it to the VA consideration? John, I think you take that letter and you take any current medical records you have on things you're being treated for, okay? And you can open up a new claim and add that. You add the medical evidence and you add the letter to your claim. Okay, that's what I think you do. And you request 100% PNT. Okay, you can also just mail that in to the VA regional office in your state requesting P&T status. John wrote, what if you have both obstructive sleep apnea and central sleep apnea? Okay, there's multiple types of sleep apnea medically. You could file for both, right? I mean, they're not going to rate you for both, but you could file for both. There's no issue with that. You're only going to be rated though for one sleep apnea condition. Okay. All right. So let's see. Oh yeah, this is a really good point. You don't, if you're going to file for obstructive sleep apnea on a secondary basis, okay, or even a primary, you're not required to have had a sleep study on active duty, okay? But you need to at least have had one now. You need a sleep study that's going to talk about how many apneic episodes you had per hour, what type of sleep apnea you have if you do, how severe it is, mild, moderate, severe. It's going to talk about all kinds of things, right? And so it doesn't necessarily matter if you only had a sleep study on active duty. That was simply my example of if you're going to file for a primary claim for direct service connection. Okay, but maybe it's been 20 years since you served on active duty. You develop sleep apnea later, but you believe it was due to your service. You still need to get a sleep study done, okay? The sleep study is the only way to show a diagnosis clearly and to document symptoms of sleep apnea. How do you get a sleep study? You can ask your VA doctor to schedule you for one. They'll probably schedule you for an overnight sleep study. There's also at-home sleep apnea test kits you can order. Okay, that's another option. No brainer, sign up with VACI. Again, if you need more medical evidence, okay, if and only if you want to go through our training program, you want to take control of your own VA claim, okay, you want to have the chance of getting a higher VA rating in less time, Elite's probably a good option for you, okay? VA Claims Insider Elite.com, okay? It's a free 3-step intake to start. There are fees, okay? And there's fees for access and permission to use our resources. That's what the fees are for. We do not charge you fees to prepare and file claims, okay? Contrary to some people's belief, okay? It's illegal. It's against federal law, okay? It's a membership program, okay? Again, you can get started at VA Claims Insider Elite.com, okay? Let's see. If I have service-connected sinusitis and rhinitis, is sleep apnea a secondary claim to those diagnoses? Absolutely. Medically, we know that sleep apnea is linked to sinusitis and rhinitis, right? Nose, throat, tonsil, respiratory issues. So again, I think you should get a medical nexus letter, Anthony, on the medical research and the likelihood that your sleep apnea is due to either sinusitis, rhinitis, or both, okay? By the way, we have an awesome blog post out there called Sleep Apnea Secondary Conditions, okay? If you go to Google and Google sleep apnea secondary conditions, okay? I think we're link 1 or 2. We actually list about 50 possible conditions that have been linked in some way to sleep apnea, okay? Okay. Question about how do I check status on a claim? I have a question. You can always call the VA hotline, okay? 1-800-827-1000, speak to a rep. Say that again, that's the VA's hotline number. It's a free, toll-free call, okay, where you're calling the VA directly, 1-800-827-1000. There's still 246 people on live, by the way, which is crazy. If you're watching the replay, welcome to you as well. The tide seems to be turning on connecting OSA and PTSD, according to what I've read. It's hard to say. I mean, I think that over time, my opinion is as more research is conducted, we're going to learn a lot more about why there's folks who have PTSD and the severity of the PTSD, why that's medically linked to OSA, causing it or making it worse. I just don't think there's been enough research done to date. There needs to be more. and there needs to be larger sample sizes done. Okay. Let's see. Oh, saying something can be comorbid. Yeah. Can I turn? So Mark wrote, can I turn 100% P&T and unemployability? I'm not quite sure why you would want to do that. So unemployability is where, especially like for TDIU, temporary disability individual unemployability, you can get paid at the 100% rate, even though you're not rated at 100%, right? So maybe you're at 80%, but you're deemed unemployable, right? Or maybe you're at 30%, but you're deemed unemployable. You're unable to maintain substantially gainful employment due to your service-connected disability. You get paid at the 100% rate, even though you're only rated at 30 or 70 or 90, okay? But if you're already 100% P&T, you can't get anything else, right? Other than, maybe you've got special monthly compensation you want to layer in. Maybe you qualify for aid in attendance, stuff like that. I'm not sure why you'd want to go for unemployability though if you're already P&T, right? Let's see. This is so awesome. People are jumping in. They're like, Brian, you're amazing. We love you. Okay, so Randy wrote, what do you charge in my situation? You don't represent veterans in the appeals process. Attorneys charge a % of the recover. So we don't do appeals, right? You're gonna want to work with an accredited attorney if you're in an appeal situation, or you could do it yourself, right? What you could do though is access our resources if you need to connect with the doctors. Okay? Because again, even if you're in an appeal situation, you still need the medical evidence to prove it, Randy, which I think is important. Okay. The standard fee structure would kick in again. If you win the increase 6 times the monthly increase, we don't get any percentage of your back pay, right? We don't do appeals. Okay. Higher level review. Yeah, let's talk about that real quick. So your claim gets denied. Okay, let's say you believe that you have enough new and relevant medical evidence that you've uploaded in support of your claim, but it still gets denied, right? You get denied service connection. Maybe you had a terrible C&P examiner. What you can do is turn around and do your own higher level review, HLR, okay? What's gonna happen is you should get a phone call from a DRO, a decision review officer, or a more senior rater at the VA, and they're gonna talk to you about it over the phone. Typically happens in 7 to 30 days-ish. And you can talk to them about why you believe the previous decision was wrong. Maybe there was a mistake, a clear error. Maybe the C&P examiner just screwed you. Maybe they didn't conduct an adequate exam, right? That would be a situation where, again, you can fight back against that in the higher level review. We've been hearing from vets of great results with the higher level review, okay? Part of Sport Combat Vets, you guys are awesome. Sean got to 100% P&T. That's awesome, which by the way, major benefit of being deemed 100% P&T, the wiping of student loan debt. Oh my goodness, we see members posting often about my entire student loan debt was discharged. Unbelievable benefit of being deemed 100% P&T. Let's see. Can you help me with a PTSD claim even after being denied once? Absolutely. So you probably want to find out why you were denied PTSD, Matthew. You maybe had a stressor that was unclear, or a stressor event that couldn't be verified if it was non-combat PTSD. I recommend you do an independent psych eval with a board certified psychologist, get a DBQ done, and make sure you get a buddy letter talking about that PTSD, when it occurred, what happened, how your life changed. In your personal statement, you're going to want to talk about in your PTSD stressor if you feared for your life, okay, in my opinion, okay? %P&T. Okay, yeah, we talked about that. New and relevant medical evidence. We talked about that. Oh my gosh, you guys are asking. I love you guys. Thank you to my team's answering a lot of the questions, which is awesome. Let's see. Somebody wrote, I don't have the fees to pay you. Okay, I understand, right? Our program, as much as we want to help every veteran, we can't help everybody. Okay. If you don't agree with our fees, right? You don't want to pay for access. You don't want to pay for our resources. I understand. Don't join our programs. It's very clear in our disclaimers, in our fees. There are plenty of free resources out there that can help you guys, right? You can use your own doctors for free. You can also, if they'll help you, and you can use an accredited representative to help you prepare and file your claim for free, like a VSO. There's state-sponsored VSOs. There's nationally accredited VSOs. Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys are crazy. All right, I'll answer one more thing. Somebody asked about live, right? How do we get into VA Claims Insider, a live event experience? We're going to be hanging out live together and in community at the JW Marriott, San Antonio, Texas Hill Country. Okay, San Antonio, Texas, May 15th through the 17th. So that's coming up in about a month. Okay, or I'm sorry, in about 5 months. And I'm so excited. I'm excited to see all you guys, to thank all you guys, to hang out together with fellow disabled vets. That's going to be epic. Super excited about that. Okay, keep asking your questions on Facebook. Our team members will try to answer them. If you're watching the recording on YouTube, keep asking your questions. We'll try to help answer. Again, it's not medical or legal advice. It's our opinions, okay? But we're trying to help you guys the best we can, okay? All right, Happy New Year. Happy 2020. It's going to be an epic year. Again, Brian Reese here, the VA Claims Insider, out from San Antonio, Texas, and we'll talk to you soon, all right? See you guys.